Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Greater New England Minority Supplier Development Council 2021 annual meeting. My name is Jim Linehan. I currently serve as the board chair, and I get the pleasure of kicking us off here today. The theme of today's meeting is Together We Rise, and with that theme, we have to acknowledge what an incredibly difficult year 2020 was. COVID turned all our lives upside down. Businesses, particularly small businesses, have been crushed. Industries have been decimated, and even harder than that, families and friends have lost loved ones and have been impacted in countless ways. The racial equity gap was once again put in front of all of us to witness and to recognize just how big a problem it really is. And in so many ways, it was such a hard year, but there is light at the end of the tunnel. We have a third vaccine online, and we have a quickly growing percentage of our population vaccinated. Corporate America has taken some steps forward to help in the battle for racial equity, and maybe more importantly, acknowledge the need for change. And as you're going to hear about this morning, there's really good things going on at GNEMSDC, and they're only going to get better. Through a lot of hard work by Peter Hurst, the GNEMSDC team, as well as my fellow board members and many of you, we have some really great changes and improvements to tell you about today. I'm super excited about them. I hope you will be too. By all of us working together, we have survived 2020, and we are now prepared to thrive in 2021. I want to thank you all for your continued support, engagement, and energy. We are all in this together. Please stay safe. And with that, I'd like to introduce our MBEIC chair, Sian Cogdell.
Thank you, Jim, very much. Good to be here. Good morning, everyone. With the MBEIC, we were off to a slow start, and then the COVID-19 pandemic hit. I have since gotten my sea legs, have settled in, and we've gotten to work. The vision of the MBEIC is to provide input, direction, and action that fosters business growth and sustainability and economic growth in the region served by the GNEMSDC. The goal of the MBEIC is to work in conjunction with the GNE and Board of Directors to provide advice, input, and assistance regarding programs, services, and activities to further the Council's goals and enhance minority business economic inclusion. MBEIC advocacy comes by way of the MBEIC sharing ideas, opportunities, and concerns with the GNEMSDC as we represent the voice of its constituents, certified MBEs. I'm very happy to announce that Ramon Peralta has joined the MBEIC as co-chair. Ramon brings years of experience operating as an MBE, as well as mentoring minority businesses of various sizes. Ramon has his finger on the pulse of the new pipeline of MBEs, is dedicated to serving MBEs, and will continue to advocate for them in his role as MBEIC co-chair. I believe Ramon and I have great synergies that will benefit the MBEIC and MBEs within our region, as well as the GNEMSDC, with increased opportunities to engage MBEs and further foster business equity and inclusion. Great to team with you, Ramon. Ramon and I have strategized and mapped our tactical focus for 2021 to include direct outreach, monthly meetings, ongoing communication via email, social media, with the goal of increasing MBE membership with concentrated efforts in Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Rhode Island. We'll be looking to recruit vice chairs from each state to lead MBEIC efforts. A key component of our outreach will be via social media and other forms of communication recommended by Ramon and Peralta Design. We're developing and will have an active social media strategy to assist with MBE messaging very soon. Our second tactical focus is to form and engage committees, initially targeting 6 areas: industry groups, communications, best practices, recruitment, capacity building, and MBE to MBE spend. Please note that our overarching goal is to provide business opportunities for MBEs and in further reducing the racial wealth gap. That's all I have to report. Thank you all. And please contact me or Ramon if you are interested in joining our efforts in developing an active and engaging MBEIC. Now I'll turn it over to Peter.
Good morning. I'm Peter Hurst. I'm the president and CEO of the Greater New England Minority Supplier Development Council. And I want to start off my time today by sharing with you a group of very dedicated individuals who really make the organization hum and provide oversight, direction, and support, and an incredible amount of guidance to me. And that's the officers and the board of directors of the Greater New England Minority Supplier Development Council. So let me start with the officers. Jim Linehan is our board chair. He also serves on the executive committee, the finance committee, and the nominating committee. And he's with Blue Cross Blue Shield of Massachusetts. Our vice chair is Ruth Johnson. She serves on the executive committee and she's with TJX Companies. Jane Cuomo probably has the toughest job, the secretary, because she has to keep track of all of the things that we discuss and all of the decisions we make. She also serves as the chairperson of the nominating committee, and Jane is with Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare. Sakini Kokar is our treasurer. She serves on the executive committee and she's the chairperson of our finance committee, and she's with Boston Scientific. Sion Cogdo is the chair of the NBIC Input Committee. He serves on the executive committee and the finance committee, and Sion is the president and CEO of the Panther Group. And I'm Peter Hurst. I have the privilege and pleasure of serving as the president and CEO of the Greater New England Minority Supplier Development Council. Now I'd like to introduce the rest of the board. Arnold Andres is with Walt Disney ESPN. Arvind Chaudhary is with Nagison Technologies, one of our very successful MBEs. April Cimarelli, she's on the nominating committee, and April is also with Staples. Mark Ham is on the finance committee, and he's from Pfizer. Manette Navik is with CVS Health. Ingali Puente serves on the finance committee, and she's with Raytheon Technologies. Anthony Samuels, another one of our very successful MBEs, is the president and CEO of DRB Facility Services. Joanne Schlick is with Eastern Bank. Francisco Vasquez is with Pratt & Whitney. Ramesh Ragwani serves on the finance committee and he's with Size Systems International. And last but not least is Michael White with ACP Facility Services, another one of our MBEs. Let me thank each and every one of the folks that I've just introduced. They're very dedicated, very supportive. They take their responsibilities as directors very seriously, and the officers are even more dedicated. And the organization has made tremendous strides, as we will share in the next several minutes. And those advancements, those improvements would not have been possible without the oversight, the leadership, the support, and the guidance of our board of directors and our offices. So on behalf of everyone involved with GNE, the staff, our stakeholders, which are our corporate members and our minority businesses, I want to say thank you to the officers and thank you to the members of the board of directors. I'd now like to take a few minutes and share a video that has a great ability of sharing the work we do and describing the work we do.
GNEMSDC wants to change the conversation about and the perception of minority-owned businesses. The universe of minority-owned businesses is not monolithic. While some minority-owned businesses are new, small, and struggling, many minority-owned businesses have size, scale, and financial strength based on revenue, cash flow, and jobs. Minority business development reduces the racial wealth gap and makes communities throughout New England stronger. With the oversight of our board of directors and the dedication of our committed staff, GNEMSDC's platforms, events, activities, and programs promote minority business development and economic inclusion. For over 45 years, GNEMSDC has been part of a national network that has added value to corporations' supply chains and increased opportunities for the minority business community. GNEMSDC certifies businesses as being minority-owned and controlled. We connect corporate partners with MBEs to facilitate commerce. We create pathways for smaller MBEs to grow by creating and promoting opportunities for them to sell their goods and services to larger MBEs. We provide our MBEs with development services that provide access to the levers of growth and success, including intellectual capital, one-on-one business consulting and subject matter training, and financial capital, debt and equity. These services are funded by annual sponsorships from our corporate partners and our MBEs, as well as grants from the New Haven Foundation and the Massachusetts Growth Capital Corporation. Our advocacy is focused on sharing data and information with leaders in the private and public sector, which support the wisdom of MBE development throughout New England. MBEs make communities stronger by generating economic output, creating and maintaining jobs, generating incremental tax revenue, and being servant leaders in the communities in which they do business. In 2019, Supplier.io prepared an economic impact report based on the contributions of 200 MBEs that have been certified by GNEMSDC. For several metrics, the study measured the economic impact of MBEs from 3 perspectives: direct contribution, indirect contribution, the goods and services that MBEs purchase from other firms, and the induced contribution, the spending by the employees of our MBEs and by the employees of the firms from whom our MBEs purchase goods and services. The cumulative impact of these 3 contributions proves that minority business development makes the New England economy stronger. Our MBEs have contributed to the economies in all of the states of New England, but the most substantial contributions have been in Massachusetts, Connecticut, and New Hampshire. In terms of aggregate revenue, all of the ethnic groups represented by our MBEs are making a substantial contribution to the New England economy. Led by Board Chair James Linehan, the diligent and committed board of GNEMSDC oversees the strategic direction of GNEMSDC. The dedicated and talented staff of GNEMSDC is committed to creating more opportunities for MBEs to grow and prosper.
Somos GNEMSDC.
We are 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 GNEMSDC. So I'd like to take a few minutes to share with you some of the highlights for 2020 that serve as a jumping off point for what we're trying to do in 2021. The fundamental thing we're focused on and that guides our work is that minority business development can reduce America's racial wealth gap and make communities stronger. And the video you just saw is tangible evidence of that fact. And let's just focus very quickly on how minority businesses make communities stronger and reduce the racial wealth gap, because minority businesses generate economic output. They create and maintain jobs, especially with people of color. Here in New England, our minority businesses have 20,000 employees, and 65% of those employees are people of color. Minority businesses generate tax revenue, and their owners constitute a cadre of servant leaders in the communities in which they live and work. I want to, take a few minutes and talk about 2 things. One, some of the programs that we we put on successfully in 2020 and our efforts in 2021 to improve upon the delivery of those programs, as well as to improve upon the quality and content of those programs. And then secondly, I'm going to briefly talk about the financial results for 2020. So as you know, we do 4 things. We certify, connect, develop, and advocate. So I'm going to talk about our programmatic accomplishments for 2020 and our plans for 2021 in the context of those 4 things. So in terms of certification, we had a very good year. This shows the number of MBEs by state. At the end of December, we had 266 MBEs. 97 were in Connecticut, 147 were in Massachusetts, 3 in Maine, 9 in New Hampshire, 9 in Rhode Island, and 1 in Vermont. And that's a 65 MBE increase from what we had at the end of 2019. And I'm happy to report, if you go state by state, we've had some amazing growth. In Connecticut, we increased our MBEs from 80 to 97. That's a 21% increase. In Massachusetts, we increased the number of MBEs from 101 to 147. That's a 46% increase. In Maine, we went from 2 to 3, and the math says that's a 50% increase. So shout out to Maine. In New Hampshire, we stayed steady at 9 in terms of the number of MBEs. In Rhode Island, we increased the number of MBEs by 1. So that's a 13% increase. And I'm happy to say at the end of 19, we finally certified an MBE in Vermont, and we look to do more. And this just shows you, with the increase in the number of MBEs, we've also increased their aggregate contribution in terms of revenue. At the end of 2020, the MBEs we've certified, the 266, generated $2.8 billion in aggregate revenue. And that's an increase from $2.2 billion at the end of 2019. So as you look at this table, every state saw an increase in the revenue generated by the MBEs. Connecticut increased from $410 million to $470 million. Massachusetts increased from $1.3 billion in revenue to $1.8 billion. New Hampshire increased from $313 million to $338 million. Rhode Island increased from $178 million to $183 million. Maine increased from $20 million to $22.6 million. And our 1 MBE in Vermont didn't lose any ground. Let me pivot a bit and talk about what we want to accomplish in 21 in terms of our MBEs. We received a grant last year for work that we're going to do this year to recruit more MBEs in Maine, Vermont, and New Hampshire. And that grant, if I fail to mention, was provided from Hannaford. And that's really going to allow us to increase the numbers in those states, as well as throughout New England. But those states are really important for us to really be representative of the MBE community in New England. And we also, in 2021, plan on recruiting more MBEs from Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island. And we're going to really have a focus on those who have the ability to sell their goods and services, not only to our corporate members, but also, because of our MBE to MBE initiative, to our larger MBEs. The second thing we do is connect. We foster 3 types of connections. We connect our corporations with our MBEs, we connect our corporations with each other, and we connect smaller MBEs, and I'm defining small as less than $1 million in revenue, with our larger MBEs, with the goal of the smaller MBEs selling their goods and services to the larger ones. So let me just run through quickly some of the things you can expect from us in 2021. We are going to focus on not just making opportunities available for our MBEs here in New England, but opportunities available for all MBEs throughout the network. And there are at least 12,000 MBEs throughout the country that have been certified by not only GNE, but the other 22 regional councils. And in 2021, while we're not, just event driven, there are some key events that we're going to pursue this year that are all going to be virtual. We're going to have our national and regional awards celebration. We're going to have our business opportunity conference and exchange. We're going to have a number of what we're going to brand as power networking events, which are really matchmakers. And they're going to be virtual and they're going to be very targeted so that we don't waste the time of our corporate members or the time of our MBEs. So if you're invited to participate in a power networking event, we're going to do our best to make sure that what you're selling is what the corporation is looking for at that particular point in time. We're also going to have several how to do business with different companies webinars so that you understand how everyone wants to do business with diverse suppliers. Again, so that we can maximize the potential of our MBEs being successful when they knock on the doors of our corporate partners. And we're going to have quarterly meetings, and we're going to have other fun networking events. Several of our MBEs throughout New England are involved in the food service business, the brewing business. And so we're going to use these opportunities to network as well as have you sample the goods and adult beverages that are being sold by our MBEs. And as we did in 2020, we're going to have a number of webinars. And the intent of those webinars is not only to get us all together, but also to make sure that we learn something that's very topical that can make our businesses more effective, can make our businesses more profitable, and make us all smarter about how we pursue our work. And then the thing that we have started that we're going to continue to make targeted introductions to our corporate members of our MBEs so that, that maximizes the chance that you will be talking to the right person at the right time. In terms of our corporate to corporate connections, we're going to continue to have corporate roundtables. We had the first one on February 25th. There were over 38 corporations in attendance. They're going to be all virtual in 2021, and we're going to continue to do that so that corporations can get together, network, share best practices, and share information about diverse suppliers that they're thinking about doing business with. And finally, in terms of connections, we started this in 2017. The ecosystem of having MBE to MBE commerce. And that's been very effective, very well received. A number of our smaller MBEs are now selling their goods and services to our larger MBEs. And we're going to continue to support that effort. We're going to have an MBE to MBE matchmaker. First one is scheduled sometime in May of this year, and we'll probably have more than one. And we're going to have continuous efforts to make sure that, there is MBE to MBE commerce. The thing that is probably the cornerstone of our value proposition is MBE development. Our stakeholders, our corporate partners, and our MBEs have signaled to us that MBE development is very important. And what is MBE development? MBE development is really providing intellectual capital, access to financial capital, so that when opportunities arise, our MBEs are contract ready. And what's so wonderful about the way we approach MBE development at the Greater New England Council is that it's supported from a variety of sources. So it is probably the one area that we have the most focus and have devoted the most resources to, because money and how you spend your money sends a signal. So how do we support MBE development financially? We get grants from corporate members, special grants. This year, we've gotten over $205,000 in special grants to support MBE development from Blue Cross Blue Shield of Massachusetts, Hannaford, Stop and Shop, and Boston Scientific. Secondly, we allocate a large percentage of our annual sponsorship dollars to MBE development. This year, we're allocating 60 cents of every sponsorship dollar to MBE development. And the significance of that is that annual sponsorships represent about 40% of our total revenue budget. So allocating 60% of that large item demonstrates our commitment to MBE development. And we've been fortunate to get support from external sources. We've gotten a grant from Massachusetts Growth Capital Corporation to provide technical assistance. And we used that in 2020 to really help those who were looking for PPP financing and looking to make sure that those loans could be forgiven. We've gotten a grant from the New Haven Foundation to provide technical assistance and subject matter training to MBEs, not only those who are certified by us, but those who should be certified and hopefully will be certified in the foundation's 22-town footprint. And we got a grant from the Small Business Development Center, which is associated with UMass Amherst. This is actually an SBA program for our Building Sustainable Businesses program. So again, the support is internal in terms of our current corporations and our MBEs, but also these external sources as well. And this is just a quick summary of where we're going to focus our efforts in MBE development in 2021. We're going to focus on 4 areas: financial management, strategic planning, marketing, and operations and process improvement. And this briefly describes what that means. Financial management, it's one-on-one consulting and subject matter training. The one-on-one consulting is not one size fits all. It's tailored to the size and sophistication of the business. So each one of these areas, and when we're talking about financial management, we'll have an aspect that's focused on one-on-one consulting. Keith Greenaway, you're going to hear from him later, leads that effort, as well as subject matter training, as well as our Building Sustainable Business program. And I'm sure Keith is going to talk about that in detail. Strategic planning, focused on organic growth strategies for smaller MBEs, inorganic growth strategies, and organic growth strategies for larger ones. Succession planning. Marketing, we're going to focus on things like development of value propositions, digital marketing, customer relationship management. We're going to focus, as I indicated, finally, on process improvement and operations. We're going to distinguish between service providers and manufacturers as to how we approach this in terms of both one-on-one consulting and subject matter training. So again, these are the 4 areas, financial management, strategic planning, marketing, process improvement, that we think will lead to an increase in revenue, cash flow, and success for our MBEs. And one of the things we're going to do this year, we're actually hiring an administrative person, and we're bringing on a couple of interns. We are going to measure in detail the impact of our development programs, whether it's one-on-one consulting, the Building Sustainable Businesses program, or any other subject matter operational things that we pursue, on year-to-year changes in several metrics. This network is very focused on revenue, and that's important, but you can increase your revenue and lose money. So what we're going to focus on in measuring, because it will help us with our funding and will also help us make sure that what we're doing is effective, is focus on revenue, net income, cash flow, total assets, net worth, and the number of employees. So we're going to measure at the end of 2020 and compare that when we get to the end of 2021. And hopefully in all of these areas on an aggregate basis, for those we have touched during this year, we will see an improvement in these metrics. And then the last thing I want to touch on is just the advocacy. 45 years ago, the advocacy had a social service, civil rights focus. As the video suggests, now we're really focused on the economic impact of minority business development. And I'm not going to repeat what you went through and listened to a few minutes ago with the video, But these are numbers, and these numbers were generated by third parties, and they speak for themselves. And let me end by just saying, 2019 and 2020, we've really turned the corner. GNE went through a dark period several years ago financially, but we really have consistently done well in terms of, again, not just focused on revenue or expenses, but focused on the net income. You focus on assets, and you focus on our net worth. We really have made great strides. In terms of net income, we increased net income from 162,000 in 2019 to 325,000 in 2020. And we increased assets from 930,000 to $1.3 million. And so that we can be around for years to come to continue to serve our minority businesses and continue to connect them with our corporate partners. Our net worth, increased dramatically, increased 55% from 592,000 to 918,000. So we didn't get there by ourselves. We got there through the support and the hard work of all of our corporate supporters, our MBEs, our finance committee, our executive committee, and our board of directors, as well as the one person you never want to owe any money to, and that's Jose Colon. So on behalf of everyone I just mentioned, I want to extend my heartfelt thanks. We achieved this by all working together and working for a very important common goal. So I'd like to end right now. And what we're going to do next during our annual meeting is that you're going to hear from other members of the team who actually make things happen. You're going to first hear from Keith Greenaway, who's going to talk in detail about MBE development. And then you're going to hear from Ileana Perisic, who's going to talk about MBE recruitment. And finally, you're going to hear from Joanne Wong, who's going to talk about corporate recruitment and connections. And the reason you're going to hear from them is that Michael Jordan learned when he first got to the Bulls that you can't win alone. He only started to win championships when he surrounded himself with a team that was strong and a team that he could trust and depend on. And I am blessed and fortunate that I have surrounded myself with a team that is strong individually and they work well together and I can depend on them. So ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to turn the floor over to my colleague, Keith Greenaway.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you, Peter. So I'm going to talk a little bit about MBE development, and in order to sort of avoid being redundant in terms of a lot of what we do, which Peter has addressed, I will go into a little more. I'll give you, number one, an overarching view of what it is that we try to do with respect to MBE development, and then give you the justification as to why I think it's important for MBEs to get involved, to engage the development services that we offer at GNEMSDC. As Peter mentioned, MBE development is really, truly at the heart of our mission. It's at the heart of what we do. The engagement on the corporate side would be immaterial and virtually irrelevant if it really wasn't about MBE development at the end of the day. And so this for us is critical, and we sort of regard now everything that we do as really making a contribution to MBE development at the council. So the overarching concept, as we sort of see it, it sort of encapsulates our mission to help diversely owned companies stabilize and to achieve growth. And when we say stabilize, what we generally mean is to achieve a state of operation in which the company has the ability to withstand temporary challenges, as we saw over the last year with the pandemic. A lot of companies faced significant decrease in sales. Capital was scarce, have been scarce, with the exception of the PPP, which I will discuss in a moment. In some instances outside of pandemics, you still have intermittent capital deficiencies with companies. You still have loss of key employees from time to time and customers from time to time. And what we try to do is help companies to position themselves to think about their operation as to in a manner that allows them to be able to sustain those kinds of these potentially destabilizing circumstances. And so the goal of the objective of what we do in MBE development, as Peter indicated, is to decrease the racial wealth gap. And we try to do that by increasing the MBE enterprise values and ownership equity of the company itself. Ultimately, what we're trying to do is build companies that have the ability to, number one, operate on a scale large enough to be able to serve the needs of our corporate members. Number two, by definition of being successful, be able to transfer wealth intergenerationally. That's ultimately what the goal needs to be. We've all seen various studies about the disparities in wealth, and especially as it affects Black and Hispanic communities. And this is something that we're taking very seriously in terms of our opportunity to be able to help to impact that with the services that we provide in MBE development. And I will go into a little bit of detail shortly as to how we're thinking about some of these services and what the outcomes we're looking for. But ultimately, though, we are still looking to, at the same time, strengthen companies to be able to create jobs that pay living wages that reduce the disproportionate incidences of underemployment in communities of color. One of the things that we have seen, that we have learned to be the case, statistically speaking, companies of color, have in significant numbers hire people of color, and they hire people of color who live in communities that oftentimes don't necessarily get a shot. Oftentimes they're located in some of those communities as well. So the impact, as we see, tends to have a rippling effect. If the company is strong, we are able to decrease the racial wealth gap, create intergenerational wealth transfer, but we're also able to create jobs that pay living wages for people in communities that are underserved. So when we talk about how we sort of do MBE development, Peter mentioned the two vehicles of one-on-one consultations and coaching and group workshop training, newly now recasted as Building Sustainable Businesses. And now, as far as the one-on-one consultations are concerned, what we try to accomplish is, number one, getting to know the company, getting to know the owners, getting to know the management, and putting ourselves in a position where we can sort of find the areas of weakness that we can come in and sort of help to shore up. The areas that we tend to focus on, as Peter had mentioned, financial record keeping and control. Also, I would also mention governance matters as well. So one of the things that we have seen in recent time, especially, is that there tends to be a need for governance controls, because the issue that we have found is there tends to be a lack of performance measures. Management direction within the context of stakeholder interest. And what I mean by that is, like, for instance, the lenders and the like. Any stakeholder that has an interest would have the company would have made certain commitments to them to operate, according to certain protocols. So we tend to sort of look at some of those, take a closer look at how to implement some of these internal controls and processes and procedures that comply with company obligations. And of course, we also look at access to capital. That has been a big thing. The good thing is that this year we've had the government programs of the PPP loans which we have helped a number of companies with, and it's been quite, for us, it's been a program that's been quite beneficial to a number of our MBEs. Initially, and for the initial round, a lot of our companies were sort of left behind, but that had been, I think in large part addressed with the subsequent rounds and some measures that have been taken, which has been good. But PPP, we've helped a lot of companies work on PPP, and now we also help companies work on loan forgiveness, PPP loan forgiveness. So if there are any questions that any MBEs may have with respect to that, they should feel free to contact us. Outside of that, we look at for access to capital, conventional debt, and equity. So something that I think you probably have not, many of you are not aware of it yet, is that we've applied for a CDFI certification to become, to be able to issue, to be able to engage some of our companies. And am I still online?
You're still with us, Keith.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, because I just saw. Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. So we have applied for CDFI certification to allow us to be able to engage in our companies not only on the side of the advisory, but also to be able to help to provide financing to some of these companies that will be more patient than you would get with conventional lending sources, banks and the like. So that's something that's currently in the works. Now, as far as BSB is concerned, the Building Sustainable Business Program is concerned, we do a series of 10. We do it annually. Right now, we just completed our third module, and they take place monthly for between 90 and 90 minutes to 120 minutes, and it's an opportunity for us to sort of help companies walk through all of the sequential steps of building a strategic plan with projections that look out 3 to 5 years. So that's something that any MBE is welcome to engage in at any point in time. And then, of course, along with that, we provide follow-up services to companies that require more in-depth assistance. So those are the general programs that we are working on with MBE development. As I indicated, we are here to serve your needs, and so feel free to reach out.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Elena Peretek, and I am the Director of MBE Services at the Greater New England Minority Supplier Development Council. In 2020, so this graph basically summarizes our year. While it was definitely a very difficult year for everyone, for GNE, it was actually it was very busy for us. We welcomed a great number of new MBEs in all 4 categories of our council. As you can tell from this graph, 21% of our MBEs are part of categories 3 and 4, which generally have over $10 million in annual revenue. Together, they represent 85% of the average revenue in our council, and that is the aggregated revenue that they bring into the communities of the New England area. Next slide, please. 35% of our certified MBEs are Black-owned businesses, and this is across all 6 different states of the New England region. However, they only represent about 18% of the aggregated revenue. Some of our development programs work towards bringing these smaller businesses into the next categories so they can grow in revenue and employees numbers. So as Keith mentioned, please take advantage of our development programs, as a lot of our MBEs can testify they are highly beneficial to everyone. Asian, Indian, and Hispanic-owned companies represent approximately 48% of our certified MBEs, and also 52% of the aggregated revenue in total of our council. Next slide, please. In 2020, we developed different relationships with third-party agencies or organizations in our area that helped us not only bring these development programs beyond our GNEMSDC certified MBEs, but also offer information during this pandemic year that was very difficult for everyone. We partnered with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and created a full cross-certification relationship that allows our certified MBEs to easily apply for certification with the Commonwealth and receive the third-party MBE certification with them as well with just one simple application. We collaborated with third-party organizations such as Bridgewater University, People's United Bank, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, just to spread the word on how small businesses in the area could approach PPP loans or forgiveness or any other help that was available during these difficult times of the pandemic. As soon as we received the information, we made sure to convey that to our certified MBEs and those that are subscribed to our different channels of communication. We also partner with the New Haven Chamber of Commerce, which allowed us to enter a market that was beyond our certified MBEs in the Connecticut area. With this partnership, we're able to communicate beyond the members of our council and just reach the community in a more direct way. In 2021, we are developing different marketing initiatives that will provide more exposure to our certified MBEs. We just finished our Black History Month campaign that celebrated some of our Black-owned MBEs. Email blasts were sent out on every Friday, as well as social media posts. Altogether, this reaches about 13,000 people that either are subscribed to our newsletters or follow us on social media. Moving forward, we will be celebrating our Women History Month, Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, Hispanic Heritage Month, Native American Month. We will also be implementing a new campaign on social media called Spotted MBEs, and everyone is welcome to contribute to that. Basically, we want to celebrate our MBEs right where they are. So if we are, let's say, at a Trader Joe's and we see a product that is either manufactured or sold by our MBEs, we want to snap a picture of it and share it on social media. We want everyone to know where the products and services of our MBEs can be found, whether that is in the New England region or beyond that. Besides that, on our biweekly GNEMSDC newsletter, we also have a section called the MBE Spotlights, which every 2 weeks highlights one of our MBEs, their efforts, and anything that needs to be celebrated for any specific reason within the company. This section is open to all of our MBEs, and everyone is more than welcome to read it. Again, the purpose of this different initiatives is to provide even more exposure to our MBEs. We want to make sure everyone is aware of who our members are and what they have to offer. And now I'll pass it on to my colleague, Joanne Wong in Corporate Services.
Good morning. So I'm Joanne Wong. I'm the Director of Corporate Services here at the Greater New England Council, and I've been in this role for almost 5 years. So just a brief background about our corporate members. A lot of times you might hear us talk about local corporate member, national corporate member, and really they are essentially the same thing. All have headquarters in the New England region. The main difference is local corporate members pay their dues directly to the council, whereas national corporate members pay their dues to NMSDC, so they have access to the MBEs of all 23 regional councils. And our corporate members really reflect the industries that appear here in New England. So we have insurance, banking, e-commerce, defense, financial services, gaming, healthcare, higher education, pharma, medical devices, retail, and utilities. So over the years, corporate membership has stayed pretty stagnant. There might have been a few new additions. Some companies will switch from local corporate members to national corporate members. However, between 2019 to 2020, we saw an 8% increase in both local corporate members and national corporate members. So corporate membership recruitment and retention is critical to the success of our council. So we were so pleased with these 12 new local corporate members that joined and 6 new national members. And we are continuing along this trajectory for 2021. So as of right now, and we're just in the first week of March, we've already had 7 new local corporate members join and 6 new national members. So we really feel like corporate membership as of right now has hit a critical mass, and we've essentially changed some of our programming for 2021 as a result. So 2021 will essentially be pretty similar to 2020 virtual corporate programming. As Peter mentioned, we have our quarterly corporate roundtables. We have our How to Do Business with webinars and our Power Networking event. As of right now, we already have more than 24 corporate members that have expressed interest in holding our How to Do Business with webinars and Power Networking. So make sure, if you are not currently subscribed to our newsletter or checking our calendar of events on our GNEMSDC website, to look at those, because we will be populating a lot of dates in the next few weeks. For Power Networking, we have 2 different ways we will be doing it this year. It's formerly known as in-person matchmaking. And what we really wanted to do is ensure that the corporate members are able to still connect with our MBEs. So there is a targeted approach, which is initiated by the corporate member. They tell us what products and services they're currently seeking. We conduct searches for those MBEs and then turn those lists around to the corporate member, who decides which MBEs they are looking to meet with. The general general Power Networking is an open call for MBEs. We will have one the first week of April with Blue Cross Blue Shield of Massachusetts. And what they're looking to do is meet with any company that's interested in possibly doing business with them. So we will be requesting a capability statement, and MBEs can fill out a short questionnaire. And then from there, those will be looked at, and then we will decide which companies will be set up for appointments with that company. And so, as I said, there are about 24 Power Networking events that will be coming up this year. So stay on the lookout and make sure that you check the events section of our newsletter. We do have a fair amount of newly added options. Corporate member engagement is really critical, and one of the best ways to leverage corporate membership is to connect with other corporate members. So we have implemented industry groups, which will be starting shortly. These are similar to the corporate roundtables. They are peer-to-peer networking events, but in a smaller setting specific to certain industries. And then we have mentoring. So this is a new program that will be offered at 2 different levels. So there is the corporate to corporate level and also the corporate to MBE level. So we have a lot of new corporate members that might be new to their role, might be new to their company, and we will be pairing those interested with a more seasoned supplier diversity professional to be able to work with them, bounce ideas off of, just gain knowledge. And then with the corporate to MBE mentoring, we have a lot of corporate members that have reached out and expressed interest in giving back to the community and donating some of their time. So we will be reaching out to MBEs to find out in a survey what needs they might have, and then match them to a corporate member for essentially free professional advice. And that is it for me. Thank you so much for your time, and I'm going to turn it over to Jose.
So Jose, while we're running the sponsor loop, we have a few minutes for questions. If anyone who's in the audience, well, you can keep sharing it, Jose. Anyone in the audience, if you have any questions, feel free to ask and we'll try to answer. So one question we have is, how do we sign up for the power networking? Joanne, you want to take that? Ileana's going to, okay.
Thank you so much. So in terms of signing up for Power Networking, any corporate member interested can just reach out to me. In terms of an MBE signing up for an open call of Power Networking, we will be putting out that particular event, any information that might be part of the screen. So perhaps the company is looking just for MBEs in Massachusetts, or it's not geographically specific. And then from there, it is a matter of just following the directions on that call to provide your submissions to myself.
And Arvin had raised his hand. Arvin, you want to pick the mic and ask your question? I'm not sure how we do it, but. Hold on.
I'm all set, Peter. It was just a accidental hand raise.
Oh, okay, okay. And we got a question from Derek Wayne. Our company is registered with NMSDC, and our headquarters is in New Jersey. Will we still be able to register and be a member with GNEMSDC? Ileana, you want to take that one?
Yes. So yes, you can definitely become part of GNEMSDC. There is a service, it's called subscription services. It is available throughout the entire NMSDC network. You can go on our website, and on the MBE services tab, there will be a section called subscription services. You can just complete that, that application. It is a short one. It's nothing like the first time you became, you had to complete when you became certified by the New York and New Jersey Council. So this short application will put you in our system, and between ourselves and the team in New York, we will complete the process of you becoming a subscriber, which is kind of almost the same as being a certified by our council. This certification will be valid as long as you are certified with your home council. So we will all work together to make sure that this is beneficial to you for the time being, and that you are subscribed to our council.
So Doris, we'll answer your question offline. Her question was, what are the main industry categories in terms of aggregate revenue? And I guess the answer is the aggregate revenue probably looks a lot like the New England economy. So it's, you know, we don't have as many manufacturing companies as you would expect, but we have a little bit of everything else: IT, medical device, transportation, you know, staffing. You know, we have folks who are in building maintenance. So there's a wide variety of industries represented. And if you drill down, it really looks a lot like the New England economy. But we can you know, get a more specific answer to you out separately. So I don't see any more questions. So I'm going to turn it over to Jose.
Well, hello, everyone. Before we go, we would like to thank our sponsors. First off, we want to give a special thank you to Boston Scientific, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Massachusetts, Hannaford Supermarket, and Stop and Shop Supermarket for really going above and beyond in contributing to GNE's MBE development mission. Very special thank you for your commitment. Thank you very much for your commitment to MBE development. I want to thank our official sponsors, starting with our certified MBEs, ACP Facility Services, and the Panther Group, and corporate member Blue Cross Blue Shield of Massachusetts. Thank you. Thank you to our platinum sponsors, certified MBEs, Big RIO and LSI Next Gen, and a national corporate member, our national corporate member, Raytheon Technologies. Thank you. Thank you for your contribution. Thank you for your sponsorship. Thank you to our gold sponsors, which this year has been comprised of national and local corporate members, Boston Scientific, CVS Health, Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare, JP Morgan Chase, Otis, Staples, State Street, and TJX. Thank you. Thank you to all of our silver sponsors, and also thank you to all of our bronze sponsors. And finally, thank you to everyone for attending and participating in our annual meeting. Have a great rest of your week. Stay safe, stay healthy, and be well. Thank you.